Okay, let's start with this week's chapter. This week's chapter talks about the input and output, extending capabilities of computer and mobile devices. Right? In this section, all right. Let me see if I can. Oh, okay. All right. In this week lecture, all right, we'll be looking into this. Particularly, we want to talk about the understanding of this. Let me see. One, all right, we would like to look into the input devices. All right, we want to understand various input devices that can extend the capabilities of computers and mobile devices. All right. Two, we look at the output devices, how different devices being used. So it's extending. Third one, we look at the emerging. Emerging means new. What type of new input and output devices that we can use, or in the particularly on that focus in the accounting field. All right, and finally, number 4, of course, we want to know the relevance, right? The relevance of this / the role in accounting field. Okay, let's just start with the input devices. Over here are various devices. Input devices is basically devices that allowed us to input the information or to communicate with the processor, to send in data basically, so that we'll have the desirable command for us to put in. So if we have over here, we can see the definition is basically it allows the user to interact with the computer by providing data, commands, or information. You can continue read it from the text, but I like to highlight over here is the various type of input devices. This one's supposed to be keyboard. Right? Keyboard. Obviously we know that a keyboard allows us to input the text, right? / numbers. So the role of the keyboard is for us to input in the texts or the numbers. While in certain application that we'll learn later, all right, keyboards allowed us to actually provide, all right, or allowed us to instruct different commands. Alright, it allowed us to instruct different commands. For example, we can control plus v, which is paste, x count, c is copy in the computer, right, for us to interact with the computer. All right, we can use these shortcuts key. Of course, keyboard itself has been evolving from time to time for various purposes. But ultimately, the goal for keyboard is for us to input text and numbers. More later computer or more later keyboard, the more later keyboard is the one with the micro switch, right? This one depends on the person. Some person like it, some person don't like it, the clicking sound. For us to have more accurate, precise pressing, I don't know, they call it the hertz, right? When we press the keyboard button, it will be more interesting, is it? Or more interesting, more fun. That's all for the keyboard. Let me see what we can talk about. All right, the layout for the keyboard. All right, the layout. We usually use the Q, W, E, R, T. All right, these are the basic keyboard, the layout. However, there are other layout as well. Just in case you don't use this normal layout, different people have different layout, but usually we'll just use the QWERT layout. That's all pretty much on the keyboard. Now let's just move into the next input devices, which is the mouse. Okay, so let's use this color. So for mouse, let me see what I have defined over here is devices that allows the user to interact with computer graphic user interface by moving the cursor across the screen and selecting items. Basically, it allowed user to interact, right? Oh, here is interact, better interaction, right? Better interaction. I think you already know it. Before that, there's no mouse in the computer. We don't have this. We just have to use the keyboard to maneuver throughout the computer. And that was those days. But after the introduction of the mouse, it actually allows it actually make the computer more user friendly. Otherwise, we'll be just inputting all the key or all the programming codes into the keyboard to instruct the computer on whatever task that we want the computer to do. All right, but with the existence of the mouse, it allowed us to better interact with the computer system, and in this way, all right, it actually allows more user-friendly approach to the computer, to the use of the computer. In terms of mouse, what evolution or evolution, right? We call this evolution. What kind of evolution that we actually see from the mouse? Mouse has different shape. The usual shape is like this. Then there's the one which is there's another type where it is it allows better posture, right? It allows better posture. These are evolution, right? The innovation, right? The innovation on the mouse. Mouse with a different shape, all right, allows you to better navigate around the system. Don't touch much about this. We move into the next one, which is the next input device, where we talk about the touch screen. All right, these are more later devices. This is the touch screen. Touch screen is very interesting. It's actually, how to say this, both, right? It's input and output, right? It's the screen itself is the output, but interacting with it, you can touch the screen as an input. So it's very interesting. You can see this one usually on the post system, some post system that allows you to interact with the screen while entering some data. More interesting is your tablets or your handphone screen, right? They are touch screen, so you can input at the same time you can see the output. We have another more example of input devices, which is the scanner. Scanner is another very important devices for us accountants. Why? It allows us to store the data, physical, right? Physical documents. Store physical documents inside the computer. Then this actually helps to reduce the storage space, or allows us to store the data longer or in an indefinite time frame if the storage is backup or properly maintained, rather than a physical hard copy of the documents where it can be damaged or destroyed. Okay. We have also the next devices over here. We can see is the mic, right? The microphones. The microphones. This one allowed us to interact with the system. It's another type of input devices. Another example of input devices, which is the mic. We can use it to record. We can use it to record our voice, our instructions. We can use it to basically input our voice command. All right. Nothing much I want to talk about this, but later we can look at the imaging, where on the software side there is the voice recognition. You can do a lot of things with that. You can command the computer by just commanding from your voice. You don't have to physically interact with the system. That is where imaging came into place. All right. Then we have the final devices, which is this one's supposed to be barcode scanner. All right, barcode scanner. So these are different types of devices, input devices. Barcode scanner is basically, you should know by now, you go to supermarket, you can see the cashier can scan the barcode, and automatically the system will recognize whatever product that you purchase. So it's another type of input instead of manually entering the product codes. So these are example of the input devices. Okay, I'll put this and here, then go into the next part of the